Hello, my friend. I promised you that I would talk about my books to you. So here we go. This was my first book, Existential Counseling and Psychotherapy in Practice. You can find that nowadays in its third edition, and in there you will find a lot of information about how counselors and therapists would work with a whole range of human issues. So it will also be useful for you if you read through there. There's lots of vignettes in it that illustrate how to work with difficulties. So it might actually help you to ease your own difficulties. Then there's this book, Everyday Mysteries, here in its second edition. And this book I'm very fond of because it is based on my teaching to my students, and it gives you the background of all the different existential philosophers that have taught us so much about how to approach the difficulties of human existence. And it also speaks about more technical issues. But if you're interested in getting the hang of this business of living, I think you will find this useful as well. Then there is a more personal book, which is Paradox and Passion in Psychotherapy, here in its second edition, which will give you more of the stories about my own life, how I got into the field, what I learned about working with your emotions and working with paradox, which are two things that are very close to my heart, because I think they are key things to understand about human existence. And this is one of my favorites. This is Psychotherapy and the Quest for Happiness. I wanted to call it Hoping for Utopia because it is about the foolishness of chasing happiness and the importance of trying to find meaning and understanding what it means to live well and to live in the right way rather than chasing happiness, my friend. So this is with Sage, and you might find this quite useful to you. Here is a more recent book, which is Rising from Existential Crisis, in which I talk a bit about some of my own crises, but also working with people who have been through really serious adversity and how they emerge from that and how difficult it is to do that and how long that road can be, but how with patience and a bit of understanding of life it can be done. And then there is this pièce de résistance, my grand oeuvre of existential therapy, the Wiley World Handbook of Existential Therapy, which I did with my colleagues Eric Craig, Alfred Langley, Kirk Schneider, Digby Tantum and Simon Duplock. It's a heavy one, and this is probably best left to those who are training as existential therapists. It gives you the history and everything. It's quite a weighty tome in every sense of the word. Still might be of interest with Wiley. Now, I did lots of co-authored books as well and edited books, and here are some of those. So this is Skills in Existential Counseling and Psychotherapy with Martin Adams, which obviously teaches you how to do the work. This is Existential Perspectives in Coaching, which is how to apply existential ideas in organizations and in working in more practical ways. Existential Perspectives on Human Issues, which my colleague Claire Arnold Baker, which is very much about the basics of life. And this is Existential Perspectives on Relationship Therapy with my colleague Susan Yakovu, and that's about working with couples. So lots to learn from that. Existential perspectives on supervision, which is how to supervise the work of counselors and psychotherapists from an existential perspective. Then I co-authored this little book, which you might find useful, an introductory book. It's called Distinctive Features with Routledge. Wrote it with my colleague Claire Arnold-Baker, and this is one that Claire just did recently with a bunch of our colleagues, and I was involved in that little bit. So existential therapy, responses to frequently asked questions, also with Routledge. I also did this dictionary of existential psychotherapy and counseling with Raymond Kenwood. So Claire and I have done another book on structural existential analysis, which is about how to do research from an existential perspective, and that should come out sometime in March. And I'm just finishing the final draft of my book with Penguin, which will probably be called The Art of Freedom, Guide to a Wiser Life. And that, my friend, is a trade book for the general public. So hopefully you'll find a lot in there to sustain your hard work to get better at living. I hope giving you an overview of these books gives you some idea. They have been translated into over 30 languages, so you can find one in your own language, hopefully. And if not, get them to translate it. I'm always happy to collaborate on translations. So, my friend, get reading as well as listening. I hope it will all help you build up a much clearer idea of what you can do with your life. Take care, my friend. Be well.